Do you know that there are more than 3,000 microchips in one car? Do you know the size of it? It's thinner than human hair. Crazy, right? These microchips are everywhere now. But the world once ran out of them, and it might happen again. Why is that? How is it even possible? And who's behind it all? Do you know what a CPU is? In simple terms, a CPU, or Central Processing Unit, is like the brain of a computer. It's tiny, but incredibly fast and powerful piece of hardware that performs calculations and executes instructions to carry out tasks for your computer. It's responsible for the basic operations that make your computer function, such as running programs, handling data, and managing the overall operation of the system. The CPU speed and efficiency are crucial in determining how quickly your computer can perform tasks. CPUs haven't always been small. In the early days of computing, CPUs were much larger and were constructed using discrete components like transistors, resistors, and capacitors. These early computers, often room-sized, had large cabinets filled with racks of electronic components. As technology advanced, the development of integrated circuits allowed for the miniaturization of components, leading to the creation of microprocessors. The microprocessor is a single integrated circuit that incorporates the functions of a CPU. This technological shift enabled computers to become smaller, more powerful, and more accessible. Over time, a continuous trend has been toward making CPUs smaller and more efficient. Today's CPUs are incredibly compact and are typically fabricated using advanced semiconductor manufacturing processes, allowing them to fit in a single chip. This miniaturization has played a crucial role in the evolution of computers, making them more powerful, energy efficient, and capable of fitting into smaller and more portable devices. Guess who did that? Are you familiar with a company named Intel? Of course, you have heard of it. But did you know that Intel was the one that first made a commercially available microprocessor? Another thing that I didn't know was that the founders of Intel were actually a part of the first ever company to work with silicon-based semiconductor devices, and this was the company that literally created Silicon Valley. Now, make sure you don't miss anything. I'll quickly tell you all the drama. So, these three men stood at the origins of Intel: Andy Grove, Robert Noyce, and Gordon Moore. Moore and Noyce were part of the treacherous eight who left Shockley Semiconductor Laboratory, the first company to work with silicon-based semiconductor devices, to start up another similar company called Fairchild Semiconductor. And the thing is that the investor and co-founder of this new company decided to go with it only because he was impressed and inspired by Noyce and his vision. Moreover, Noyce was later the one to invent integrated circuits, which was huge. Noyce practically ran whole division. Yet, when the company was looking for a CEO, Noyce was never a candidate. I mean, this man made this whole company exist, work, and successfully compete with other startups. Of course, he probably felt betrayed. So he founded Intel together with Moore, and they hired Andy Grove a little later. Interesting fact, Intel could have been called Moore Noyce. Do you get why it didn't happen? Well, Moore Noyce for an electronics company wasn't such a good idea. We'll prefer our devices to keep it low-key, right? Anyhow, Intel was going strong, especially when it came up with a microprocessor in 1971. Remember I mentioned Andy Grove as the third employee at Intel? Well, under his leadership as CEO for a decade since 1987, Intel shifted its focus to high-performance computing, producing a series of successful microprocessor architectures, including the 486, Pentium, and subsequent generations. Grove was known for his strategic thinking and bold decision-making. One notable decision was to exit the memory chip business in the 1980s and concentrate on microprocessors. This decision proved crucial to Intel's success. Intel's market share was dominating, obviously, and later it remained strong in the PC processor market, with the Pentium brand becoming synonymous with high-performance CPUs. But maybe the guys were too chill and felt a little too secure, because while they were insignificantly improving Pentium generations, and I'm saying insignificantly because customers didn't notice any major improvements, their competitors, such as AMD, were gaining so much more. What happened is that Intel struggled with transitioning to smaller manufacturing processes in the 2010s Oh yeah, and another thing came up. AMD, the biggest rival, introduced its Ryzen processor, and people went nuts for it. Because AMD had good deals. Ryzen processors often offered more cores and threads than Pentium, and this led to better performance. And another thing is that the customer was finally getting an opportunity to make his own choice. This probably confused and messed up Intel. Well, this, among other things, such as security flaws, industrial espionage, and accusations of anti-competitive practices. What's more, Intel faced delays in releasing some of its key products lately. For instance, the 7nm based CPUs were delayed, impacting the company's roadmap and competitive positioning. Do you know that 1nm is 1/1000th of a meter? And since they're approximately 39 inches in a meter, here's a conversion factor. And 7nm based CPU actually means that the distance between certain features on the chip is about 7 nanometers, allowing for smaller and more efficient electronic components in devices like smartphones and computers. So, Intel failed to deliver those on time 2 years ago, while TSMC began mass production of 7nm chips in April 2018, which is more than 5 years ago. And you know what? 7nm chips are no longer the smallest, because Samsung has been producing 3nm chips for 2 years now. TSMC is planning to mass produce them in 2024, and Apple has got them in brand new iPhone 15 Pro. Well, technically Apple has got them, yet they are produced by TSMC. And this is a little concerning. I'll tell you all about it a little later. But don't think that is a game over for Intel, because Intel has changed or adjusted its roadmap, and many claim that they are doing a pretty good job. They are on track, and their plans impress many experts in the field. Here we can see that Intel had a major market share drop in 2019 in comparison to AMD, its main competitor. Yet it's gaining it back a little by little, and we shall see more of its chips in the foreseen future. And you know what's crazy? Is that almost everything surrounding you, or I'd rather say every technology surrounding you, has got a microprocessor. And not just one. I mean, take a look at the smart scale that scans your body and tells you exact percentage of body fat or bone weight, maps that tell you where to go in the most convenient way, analyzing real-time data, or microwaves that hit your lunch, or an electronic toothbrush that people say is way better than regular one. All of these items are working and improving your life quality thanks to the microprocessors they have. What about a little more complicated appliances? Let's say cars, for instance. Do you know that modern cars, even the cheapest ones, have over 50 microprocessors to control brakes, engines, windows, airbags, and so on? And that's today's reality. Because 50 years ago, microprocessors were about 5% of the car price. 10 years ago, already 35%. So don't be surprised if in 7 years you'll be paying half of the price only for all the microprocessors installed in a car. I mean, take Tesla as an example. People say it's not a car, it's more like a smartphone and wheels, and I get that. The most expensive smart cars today have over 3,000 chips, yet we want more. And here's the twist. The whole world simply cannot cope with the demand. Check out this parking slot. Ford claimed that in June of 2021, it was packed with more than 60,000 cars because the company couldn't sell them. These cars looked good and had everything: wheels, seats, engines, and even customers in line to get them. Yet Ford didn't have chips to install. So Ford slowed down its production, fired people, and stopped machinery to make up for its losses. And it was not the only company to do so, because let me remind you, 2021 was the year we all were worried about COVID-19. Remember that time you were stuck at home, couldn't go to the office, the kids had to study online, and to distract yourself, you probably got a new computer or a console or maybe a TV? Well, everyone did just that. And CPU manufacturers were no different. The employees had to be home too. It seemed like everyone was scared and worried about the disease. No one would have thought to get a new car because there was nowhere to go. But surprise, the pandemic was over and now everyone wanted to get out. So demand for cars started rising, yet there was nothing available because there were no chips. You might think it's crazy and there's no way it happened, yet it did. The interesting thing is that car manufacturers were not the first ones on the line to get microprocessors. Because remember about those laptops and consoles people purchased like crazy during the COVID? Well, those companies needed to refill their stocks too. What happened to cars? The prices skyrocketed because the companies needed money to make up for their losses, yet market demand kept on rising. So then you, for instance, had to pay, let's say, 30% more than a year ago for the same car. You wonder, how did it all happen? How did the world run out of microchips? Well, I did too. Let me remind you that microprocessor manufacturing is not simple. It involves creating a design, using photolithography to transfer the design onto silicon wafers, and then applying a series of steps, including etching, doping, deposition, and testing, to produce individual chips with intricate transistor structures and interconnections, which are finally packaged for use in electronic devices. This intricate process occurs in specialized clean room environments and requires advanced technology to produce the complex integrated circuits that form the heart of a CPU. This process takes a month. Very expensive machinery, rooms the size of several soccer fields that have to be shiny and clean, and tons of water. Speaking of water, this is one of the potential problems why we might continue to have problems with microchip supply. Here's one thing. Apparently, many companies can design a CPU, yet just a few to manufacture them. One of the largest is TSMC in Taiwan. It's a foundry and it manufactures around 90% of all advanced microprocessors in the world. Sony, Windows, Apple, and even Intel microchips are produced right here. Do you see any problem with that? Yeah, it is risky to have one major player in the market to produce little something we'll desperately need, since we all got used to our smartphones, laptops, smart home devices, and so much more. Anyhow, I was speaking of water as one of the problems. You see, such manufacturers need around 150,000 tons of water daily to cool down machinery and clean waffles. Taiwan is an island that has a wet and rainy climate, especially during certain seasons, so this country usually doesn't have any problems with water. Yet, Taiwan experienced a major drought in 2021. Yep, there was a shortage of water. For the first time in 56 years, or since microprocessors ever existed. No one could have seen it coming. Obviously, the country cared for people and agriculture much more than it did for TSMC. This continued for several months. So, what I'm saying is that there's no guarantee this would never happen again. Also, don't forget that Taiwan is an independent state. Yet China considers Taiwan to be a part of its territory and has a long-standing policy of one China, which asserts that there is only one China and that Taiwan is an integral part of it. Interesting things, huh? We might say that one foundry is most responsible for every gadget we have today since it's the one to produce them. And those microchips, they are thinner than human hair. And these chips are responsible for your iPhone to substitute your computer. Yet in the 21st century, there are wars and horrors, people killing others because of their religion, ethnicity, or looks. Let me know what you think of this in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video to support my channel. See you soon.